Shalom, family. This is your boy D.GRAY back again doing this thing I like to do on the second Sabbath of the year, of the pagan year anyway. And I'm ready to talk a little bit about the scriptures and what's happened over the past week or so. So earlier this week, I put out a video about that attempted coup that happened at the U.S. Capitol and how we should understand that what we were seeing, the incident itself, was actually indicative of what America truly is, no matter what the incoming administration is trying to tell us. It is indicative of what America has been, will be, until such time as we find redemption in the Most High, and maybe He comes back to get us. But in the meantime, it is our duty to fight the oppression and to fight the demonic forces that victimize our people until the Most High comes back. So, with that being said, I very quickly want to address something I read earlier today, where there were certain people out there who were angry about some of the sentiments that were being posted about the woman who got shot by guards inside the Capitol building as she was trying to breach the door. The woman was subsequently shot, and she died from the gunshot wound after being repeatedly told to stop. So there were some individuals on the internet that were truly unsympathetic to what happened to the woman. And they were stating that she deserved what she got for trespassing and attempting to break through the door of the Capitol building after she was warned repeatedly to stop. Now, there's also a second group of people that found the criticism of her in bad taste. And they went on to chastise those who would say anything about a woman being shot. And I know that it's about a woman being shot because if it had been a man, or and even more so a black man, there wouldn't have been that much outcry. As if women have some sacred position in the world that they should not be shot when they're trying to do weird shit. So the other part of that was how shocked I was to find out how many so-called African Americans were in that second group that thought it was a bad taste to talk about that woman being shot. So I thought about it a lot over the last couple of days, and I kind of want to get my mindset out there and let you guys in on my opinion, even if it doesn't mean anything to you. I'm going to give it. This is my equipment, and I'm going to record it, and you can listen to it or you don't have to. But first, I think we need to remember why these protesters were out there in the first place. They were out there to attempt to disenfranchise. Now, we all understood why those people were out there, and that they were out there to try to take whatever votes that were cast by predominantly African American communities. They were out there to throw them in the garbage. They wanted to nullify them. And we got to understand, no matter what anybody tells you, there was nothing honorable about their motivations. There was nothing honorable nor righteous about what they were doing. So as I was watching the videos, watching the playbacks, I was reminded that our enemies in scripture were doing the same things during our captivities. They were trying to, they would take away our power. They were trying to take away our gangster in captivity. And that's exactly what these people were trying to do. So we got to understand before we start feeling sorry for people, no matter who they are, we got to remember these people were out there to take away your power, to take away your rights, to take away your votes. Secondly, these people are not our friends. These are the same people who would justify killing an unarmed black person for whatever reason. The killings of Ahmaud Arbery, Tamir Rice, Trayvon, and others were cheered on by these same people. And we got to remember that. most of those people, if not all of those people out there, have no sympathy for killing unarmed African American men and women and children. And I'm not sure when so-called African Americans are going to stop trying to be the bigger person in all this nonsense. We got to stop giving people who show animosity to us the benefit of the doubt. We need to stop being so simple-minded in these matters. I don't care if it was a woman or not that got shot. That same woman who was shot at the Capitol had no love for us. She was trespassing. She was breaking the law. And she was breaking the law under the auspices of taking our votes away. She could have cared less about you, my life, the lives of my children, or any kind of power that was given to us by the government. They were prepared to take them away violently. And she lost her life over it. Period. So let's go to the Apocrypha. So if you go into Ecclesiasticus 25:7, it reads, "There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy." So you see, even in the scriptures, not only is the Bible telling us to be patient and enjoy our families and take care of our kids, that we should rejoice when our enemies do fall. But anyone that comes up against us to oppress or destroy us must be treated as a sinner, whether they be man, woman, or child. In Ecclesiasticus 25, verse 15, the Most High goes on to say, "There is no head above the head of a serpent, and there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy." What is the Most High trying to tell us? I take that as the Most High is telling us that the wrath that pertains to an enemy, that there's no limit to it. There's no limit to the wrath of an enemy against his chosen people. Let's even go further down to verse 19, where he says something more pointed about what we were talking about as it pertains to that woman. In verse 19, Ecclesiastes 25, verse 19, "All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her." So as we sit there trying to find some nobility, some honorable position when it comes to women, the Most High says even a woman should be given wrath based on her sin toward his people. If she's transgressing against us, then that's her portion. And that's in Romans 6:23. If she's sinning, which she was, even if it's a woman, it says that in Ecclesiastes 25:19, let her portion fall upon her as a sinner, and the wages of sin are death. And we know that. So I know it feels noble and honorable to say affirming things about people who die. And we want to say how tragic it is when somebody loses their life. And it is very tragic when innocent people lose their lives. But what we have to do as a people these days is to understand that some people were created to be destroyed by the Most High God. We have a hard time with that. We need to understand that their actions will dictate whether or not the Most High will allow them to live a moment longer after they've committed their sin. She got up that morning to sin. She put on her clothes that morning to sin. She knew what she was doing when she went down there. She made that bed for herself. And the Most High God does not care if it's a woman or not. I don't give anyone the benefit of the doubt regarding the oppression and disenfranchisement of my people. And I have plenty of white friends and acquaintances who I would cut off in a heartbeat if they were in support of taking away my freedoms or justifying what she was doing to take away my power and my vote. And we got to be that. That's what we got to be as African Americans in this country. And let's not get it twisted. Those people, especially that woman, they're not our friends. That woman was part of a movement that wanted to nullify our rights as citizens and to choose our own leaders. And she was doing it in a violent manner. And you can only imagine what would have happened, as they keep saying, as I keep hearing people say on the internet and on the news, if this had been a black woman or man, you would not be hearing hardly anything about it because they were committing a crime. So anyone who wants to invoke the scriptures saying that people's real enemies should somehow be given sympathy or mercy, because there's a scripture out there in Psalms that say something about you shouldn't rejoice in your enemy's fall. They're not talking about the enemies of God. They're not talking about the enemies of us, the enemies of our people. They're talking about familial enemies, because we have those. They are talking about familial enemies. And whoever's spouting that out of Psalms doesn't understand the scriptures very well. We should not rejoice in the fall of our familial enemies. That's what it's saying. Plain and simple. But those that are enemies, our spiritual enemies, the enemies of God, those people are going to receive the justice they deserve. And honestly, we should not be unhappy about that. We should not be unhappy about that. I believe that woman received justice from the Most High immediately, and that's what he chose. And it's a tragedy for people to lose their lives for whatever reason. But if you make moves like that, you earn that death because you were somehow trying to victimize my people. And that's a bed you made for yourself. And that's something you and the Most High God are going to have to deal with. You guys are going to have to come to terms with. She's going to have to come to terms with that, with her actions with the Most High. And that's not something I'm unhappy about. Because in the scriptures, he basically said, treat him like a sinner, for the wages of sin is death. It's too bad that she put on her clothes and went out there that morning. It's too bad that she went out there to do that. And there were some other people that lost their lives too. So we need to understand that a lot of this stuff that's happening is of the Most High's wants. And we shouldn't be unhappy if the Most High is happy with what's happening, because he's in control of everything. So that was dark. That was a dark video, but we're gonna continue to bring these scriptures out the way that they should be understood. And we as Israelites need to understand that we can't cape for everybody, and sometimes when judgment comes to them, that's what they earned, even within our own people. So anyway, Kam Yasharallah, Israel. I'll talk to you next week.